I'm Terry Newman, a senior editor and columnist with the National Post. I'm here with fellow Post columnist Michael Higgins to talk about the chaos that has engulfed Ottawa. Michael, thanks for joining me.
Welcome, Terry.
So, what is going on with Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau?
Well, isn't that the great question? Yeah, absent of them giving any interviews, which neither of them have, we're left with a consensus story that's been emerging. That appears that on last Friday, the Prime Minister phoned, or actually it was a Zoom call, the Finance Minister and told her that he was going to ask her to step down. Mark Carney was going to be brought in a reshuffle that was supposed to happen today, that she would have another job, no portfolio, no money, no office, leading trade negotiations. Now, this is the thing that we don't know, but I find so fascinating, that we know that on the Monday, Chrystia Freeland now put in her resignation letter. But what happened over the weekend? For some reason, I believe, and I'll tell you why I believe this, that the Trudeau team believed that they had a deal with Chrystia Freeland, that she was going to step down and Mark Carney was going to go in. And the only basis I have on that is that the Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, the Chief of Staff to Trudeau, went to New York and put out on Twitter, having a great time. There's pictures of her smiling. No way would she have gone if they believed the Finance Minister was going to quit. So come Monday, this hit them totally blindsided like an explosive. But what happened? I can't believe Chrystia Freeland said, yes, I'm going to do it, and then changed her mind. Somehow they totally misread whatever she said to them and believed that they had a deal going, and they didn't. And it just come from out the blue, and it's now, well, caused, as you said, chaos.
Absolutely. Now, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think Trudeau is actually going to resign?
No. I don't think he will. I know there's pressure on him to resign, but there's no cabinet minister who's yet come out. If a cabinet minister comes out and says he's got to go, then I'll change my mind. At the moment, there is a small backbench rebellion. There are up to 45, 60, some people say, that may be saying that Justin Trudeau can go. Why don't I believe him go? Because past behaviour is an indicator of future performance. The guy is a fighter. He won't just go down. He's a good political operator. He knows the system. He knows how it works. Now, having said that, I am perplexed by one thing. He held a caucus meeting on Monday, or there was a national caucus meeting held. And he said, apparently, that the version in the letter that Chrystia said wasn't quite accurate. If that was true, I believe Trudeau would have given a press conference, well, in that day or the next day, to put forward his version of events. And the fact that he hasn't put that forward means, I think, that maybe he doesn't have the ammunition against Chrystia Freeland. And that therefore, this is why he's trying a different tack. And I think the tack he's doing is he's just hiding. He's hunkered down in the office. He hasn't spoken to Canadians, which I think is appalling. That the Prime Minister of a country is facing calls for his resignation. We're facing economic chaos from the Americans with tariffs, Trump circling. He needs to address this, and he needs to speak to Canadians. And of course he hasn't. All he's done is address the party faithful twice in the last 2 days. But I don't think he's going to resign. I think now that Parliament has retired for 6 weeks, that he's now got 6 weeks. And when he comes back, what will happen? The tariffs will almost be upon us, and he's going to say, well, we can't have an election now, or now's not the time for me to step down. Of course he's going to say that.
Right. So like a, rally around the flag, the tariff flag.
Absolutely. And, I think it'll work. I mean, would the Liberals toss Justin Trudeau on the 27th or 28th of January when tariffs are coming in? He's going to claim, look, I've been down this road before. I've faced off Trump, and therefore I know my enemy. You're probably the best bet that you've got is me going in to see Trump. There's a counter-argument to that in fact, Trump interestingly called Chrystia Freeland toxic, which I think she'll take as a compliment.
Yeah.
She must have been a hard negotiator to be called toxic by Trump.
Yeah.
So we may have lost our best negotiator there.
Yeah. I'm sure she liked that Truth Social tweet that ended up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So in general, do you think that even if he benefits from this Trump's threats about the tariffs and the rally around the tariff flag, like he did with COVID, do you think that this is at all going to increase the chances of an election? Or are Canadians a patient type? Are we just willing? Are the MPs and everybody just willing to wait until October?
Well, I think there's a couple of things that come into play. So we talk about January. January, the tariffs start. Trudeau plays I'm the guy who has to handle the negotiations. That's going to take quite a long time. We're now into spring, say March, April. Again, what are we going to do? Have a summer election? Well, you might as well wait till October, right? And I think that's going to go. And the other thing that's going to play is there's a lot of Liberals who stand to lose their seats, right? If an election is held now, according to the polling numbers, they're going to be decimated. There are a lot of Liberals who are going to lose their jobs. They're going to be out of a job. Well, why not collect a paycheck until October? You know, it's in their interest. It's not a very principled stance. But then again, it's their job. And they're looking out for themselves to a certain extent. And so, yeah, there is a lot of reasons, selfish reasons for a lot of MPs to stick behind Trudeau and to back him all the way till October. And then, you know, by then, maybe there'll be a new leader. Maybe they can go in with Trudeau Freeland, or maybe Mark Carney will make an appearance.
So they're holding out for any chance that the party won't be completely decimated.
That's right, yeah. And of course, that's what's Trudeau doing. That's why he's still in this. That's why he's still fighting, because he still thinks that between now and October, it's a long time. Trump's an adversary that he still hopes, I think, will work in his favour, and will if he can negotiate smaller tariffs, is he going to be the economic saviour? There's a lot of things that, you know, Trudeau knows that 9 months is a long, long time in politics, and it's in his best interest to keep to the job, to hold out, and see what happens.
Yeah, and to not take a walk in the snow.
Yeah, take a walk in the. It's not even snowing much.
I'm sure he doesn't want to go out that way.
No.
Why do you think Freeland went out the way she did? Personally, what do you think?
Yeah, well, that's another great question, and I would really love to know I think I'd love to know what that Zoom call was, you know, because, as I say, I think they thought they had a deal with her, but it's just so astonishing to me that Trudeau would even ask his finance minister, look, I'm going to push you aside. I'm going to parachute in this guy. You're going to get the trade negotiation position, but you haven't got an office, you haven't got a portfolio, you haven't got any money. I'm going to ask you to present a mini budget, the Fall Economic Statement, which you do not agree with. Obviously, it was in her letter that a lot of political gimmicks, and we're not doing well for Canadians here. So present a mini budget, a lot of it which she does not agree with, obviously. And then I'm going to get rid of you 2 days later. In what universe is that a viable proposition? And I've come back to, it stuns me that they think they had a deal.
Well, I mean, what kind of reaction would he expect from somebody like Freeland, who's, you know, like Wilson Raybould? Did he expect her to, lie down?
Right.
You know, you would think Freeland more, not so.
Yeah.
So it is very surprising. Who do you think will be the next Liberal leader?
Well, there's a lot of names out there, right? And again, we can't discount Christia herself, you know. She's now set herself up as the anti-Trudeau candidate. That's got to be a good thing. She's setting herself up as someone who, look, we're not going the right way economically. I didn't agree with this. I think we needed that, blah, blah. That's a good thing. She got a standing ovation at the National Caucus. That must have been a good thing. And, you know, I don't think Trudeau was in the room, but he must have been nearby and heard that. That must have been very disconcerting for him. So, you know, she says she's staying in politics. So you've got to think that she's a possibility. The industry minister, Champagne, I think he's always had leadership ideals. Dominic LeBlanc, the new finance minister, he's been the go-to guy for Trudeau. I think he's got a sterling reputation. He's a good crisis handler, so that's another one. Outsiders, Christy Clark, the former BC Premier. Can we discount Carney? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Can we discount Carney? Certainly at 9:07, when Chrystia Freedman dropped her bombshell, by 9:08, Carney knew that he was not going to be finance minister, because no way would he have stepped into those shoes. That just wasn't going to happen. So he was out as finance minister. So I think he has to have a seat, and there is no seat available right now. So I think he might have to run first, then get elected, and then run. So that's a hurdle that he was going to have to face, but he would have faced it as being a finance minister. Now he just faces it as being an ordinary guy running for former Bank of Canada and England, running for a seat. I don't know. I think if I was Carney, I'd be throwing up my hands now, just saying, a plague on all your houses.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, he's also going to face the Ignatieff kind of like
That's right.
kiss of death, the European, are you too good for Canada kind of take, right? So you're back here, you're an opportunist.
And he's closely tied to Justin Trudeau, which is probably not the thing you want to be right now.
Definitely not.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Michael.
Yeah, it's fun.